Hey, this is Ben with measureQuick, and today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. It's about measureQuick and its role with distributors. So today I have David Petz. Hey, David, how you doing?
Ben, how are you, my friend?
Doing fantastic. It's Thursday. Week is almost over,
Yes, sir.
and David is out of the King Group in New Jersey, Philadelphia. He's with Johnstone Supply out there,
Yes, sir.
and David, you are not the first distributor that we've run into who is embracing measureQuick, but you have adopted it and other tools like Conduit so quickly and completely that it's just been very impressive to us. So, first off, how did you find measureQuick and why did you bring it to Johnstone?
We have a training lab here. You can see some of the toys behind me on the wall. Brian Feeney was a sales rep for us locally, and he had come in one day on a completely different topic, but he just so happened to be mentioning measureQuick. And I had asked him, what is measureQuick? Hadn't heard of it. This is as of, I think it was January of this year, actually maybe December of last year. But he brings it, shows it to me, brings in his kit from outside, lays out some of the wireless tools, the Bluetooth tools, and he just opens his app up and just starts rolling through. So I started questioning him, what is it to do? How does it work? We formed a partnership between the two of us that he basically was teaching me how to use the tools and how to use the measureQuick app. Well, I do training in this lab. So when I do my furnace or AC heat pump training, it sounded like a no-brainer that this might be a platform we could use in the classroom. After developing that partnership and working with the app itself in the lab by myself, checking things out and how it works, we implemented a way that we're going to be using it with our dealers that we're partnered with. I've taken the role on now that usually with whatever we do, including today, we had a small class of a few people in here. I always introduce the measureQuick, and most times guys and girls don't know of it, but it's just planting that seed and allowing them to ask questions, maybe giving them some info.
And did you have a specific aha moment? Was there a capability that measureQuick had that blew your mind? And do your students that you bring in your training classes have similar aha moments? What would those be?
Yeah, so great question. So Brian had put it onto one of my heat pump systems, and we were measuring it out. And so when he started showing me some of the reporting that we can do, the capturing the information, that critical data that a lot of times is not created or captured specifically during startup on equipment. Being a distributor, a lot of times we're working with individuals that might be out there and they may be using smart tools, they may be using analog tools, whatever the case may be. But if there's a problem, I simply will ask, especially if it's a new install, did you do a commissioning or a startup on the system? And can you give me any relative information based on when it was started up, what it was doing, and how it was operating based on what today is happening? And the answer is always no. And I usually get, yeah, we put the gauges on it. It had a TD of 20 degrees. We had a subcool of close to what it was on the side of the unit. And yeah, we were good at the time we started it up. But there's no data that says, hey, here's where it was operating. The aha moment was when Brian was going through the reporting and after capturing the specs and the operation conditions of how that unit was operating, he then sent me a PDF file on a report card. And as soon as I opened the report card, immediately that was, oh my gosh, I think I can use this for something better within our industry than that of the contractor. And that all comes down and ties back to commissioning and startup of systems, warranty procedures. So when you get a call that something isn't operating or I got a warranty on a condenser fan motor or an indoor air blower motor or a compressor, a lot of key questions have to be asked. And most times guys don't have that information. So if I can capture that information on startup, I know whether or not we had credible operating conditions that would conducively make it work proper or not. Today's class in particular, I use the example because we get a lot of it. Airflow being the number one problem in the industry, we'll get indoor fan blower motors coming back that are warranty unit. I will typically ask for a startup sheet. What was your external static pressures on the system? And typically guys will look at me like I've got two heads. The idea is that if you're going to be a dealer or a partner with us, I want to be able to prove that we did a startup, that we've gotten the numbers we need to get, and we're within the parameters of that operating system.
And that's risk management for Johnstone, because
Correct.
you're like all that warranty information, when you have this black hole or the lack of information coming back from the field, the technicians, what their Delta T information is that they might share with you. That's just a fraction of the picture of the hundreds of other readings and calculations that need to be done to actually understand what's going on with that system. And so I love that use case. And we've argued for the possibility that maybe distributors would just even pay for every time that you needed to have a report generated for that reporting fee or the unlock fee for Premier Services to unlock the system for the full year. Distributors and manufacturers might get to the point of wanting to pay for that themselves because of the amount of risk that it removes, because you get that full picture of everything that's going on with the system. And you also get to resolution in an order of magnitude less time. And so time is money, and also improperly dealt with warranty issues are just such a massive headache and a waste of money. Yeah. I love that you guys are embracing that.
Our partnership with our dealers, and this year we've transitioned, we are beginning to move out a Mana product. Daikin, a Mana product that we'll be selling. Our partners, as they're signing on to be a dealer, we are giving them the first 5 units. I will apply the 5 qubits to that system going out the door, and I'm going to be on job site for at least the first 2 to 3. If you need me on the 4th, because maybe you have a different crew, but we will do the commissioning and startup through measureQuick. So now I can capture the data for our warranty purposes. So I'm hoping that if our OEMs are out there listening to this and hear this, that I think it's probably not a bad idea for your warranty purposes that you start looking into having our contractors, our customers, start using the product, start getting involved in wanting to use this. And to your point, we're spending the money for the first 5. So I'll give you the first 5. I want you to prove it. I want you to see it. I want you to use it. And then I want you to come back to me and tell me, yeah, you want to start using this. I want to start using it on service as well as my install. We had a meeting, I think it was 3 weeks ago, which was our intro to measureQuick for some of our dealers and other customers that were willing and able to come out and see it. At the end of that day, I had 4 committed. All 4 bought the tools that were necessary for it. And once those tools were sold to them, they're implementing now at least a trial period. I have one contractor who's actually got all 4 trucks set up with the use of this. I was at his house the other night setting them up and using the measureQuick product. So it's just partnering. Us as a distributor need to partner with our contractors to do better work.
Now, the other side of sales is sales for you as a distributor. So I have firsthand experience working with Haven IQ back a couple of years ago when we were trying to get our IoT duct-mounted air quality sensor and controller into the market. And a lot of distributors did not know how to sell like that type of connected product that was this hybrid of software and hardware that's wireless. It seems like it's a struggle for some distributors to deal with that newer technology that is now entering into the world of HVAC. Has measureQuick led to more smart tool sales for yourselves at Johnstone?
Yeah, Ben, I think when you start to look at it, most contractors that I'm dealing with, small companies, large companies, they've all embraced the use of smart tools. They see the reason why you need to have these, right? They make the job easier. We talk about it a lot in class where I don't like manifold gauges with hoses. I think with sensor kits today, no loss of refrigerant. So why wouldn't we invest that money instead of putting it into maybe a digital manifold set with hoses? Invest in maybe the new climate class that's got the charging ports on it. So you've got tools able to do these things. So I think it helps lead those individuals that were teetering on the fence whether or not they really want to use the smart tools. It gives them a reason why they would want to use the smart tools. And then it leads to a conversation. Now, let's look at what we can do with it. Let's look at how we can perform with these and the information that we can gather with it.
So then if you were to provide some advice for other distributors on adopting measureQuick and providing it to their clientele, what are those benefits that the distributors get? And then how would they position measureQuick to their dealers?
So the way that we're structuring our processes here is that for dealerships, for our partners, we are going to make certain that at least the first 5 systems, we're taking care of it. They need to have the tools. That's the key. But before they do it, we're going to go out. I'm going to go out. My co-partner, Brian, is going to go out. And we will show them the use of that tool in place on that job. Okay? That way, then we can prove to them they need to use this. The second part of that is that it's based on, I want to see the performance of that system being placed in that envelope, in that home. Because again, in the class that we did today, my 60,000 BTU, 90% efficient furnace with a 3-ton drive can be put anywhere. It doesn't know where it's going. Startup and commissioning a lot of times is guys just put the thermometers in the ductwork, putting the gauges on the outdoor unit, measuring a superheat subcool, the pressures, and we've got a 20-degree TD. The biggest problem is the external static pressure. For warranty purposes, as a distributor, this is going to help us lean down those warranty parts. The OEMs know that the customers are doing the right thing and that install has been done proper. So the likelihood, the potential of having a warranty issue on that system is very slim.
And that's becoming so much more important now because up until the newest efficient heat pumps, the manufacturers, the OEMs, would engineer in a slop factor because they knew that there's going to be so many different scenarios that the equipment is going to be installed in. Whereas now the constraints of these very efficient heat pumps now it requires dealers, contractors to hit that very tight performance band where there's no wiggle room, there's no more slop. And yeah, I would expect that now manufacturers are panicking because they don't have that same buffer that allowed them to keep their warranties down before. Because the inverter-based systems, the variable speed fan drives, I've heard Nate Adams, yourself, lots of other people tell stories and show statistics about how bad the external static pressure can get, well, just on any system, but with those systems, they can't handle it. They will die over very quickly compared to the old PSC systems.
Yeah, and their conversations, again, being in the nice part about where I'm at is that we have a classroom or we have TSAs that can have those conversations with those people. So when you start having those conversations, and then this is, again, the conversations that I had today and yesterday, when you're taking out a gas furnace in the homes in our area, in the Philadelphia region, Jersey region, were built many years ago, built for heating only units, gas-fired units, low flow, low airflow. But now we're putting in electrifying and putting in heat pump systems. So now we're running at a much higher CFM volume. What happens with that duct system and who's testing it? This also gives the ability it gives you the ability to also upsell on the side where ENS calls it air upgrade, air performance. And the idea is that as professionals, if you're going in to put a $25,000 system in a home and you're not giving vital scores and you're not discussing duct system changes, you're doing your customer wrong because you will be, and I know I will be getting those phone calls.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I love that that process. To recap, it's as you're bringing new dealers in, you let them know that measureQuick, this is a part of our new process. We're going to make sure you have all the tools. We'll do a little bit of training, and then we're going to shadow you, but also provide you with about 25 qubits worth. So that's 5 reports, 5 unlocks of premier services. You provide that for each one of your dealers so they have that in their account. That's even something that you as a distributor have the power to do that because that's a feature that we gave you guys that you can do that. So other distributors can do that as well. And then from there, once they're rolling, once they're spun up, then you can step back and remotely support them with that remote verification feature. You guys have embraced the kind of what we've been hoping for a very long time, what we've designed into measureQuick here with a lot of our features. So I'm just super excited to see the results of the next couple of months as you guys are, spinning up. We're we're getting into the slow season, but this is the time now to embrace some of that new technology.
Yeah.
And I think that other people, it won't take nearly as much time for them to create this type of value for other distributors. It'll take them a lot less time to walk the same path because you've already plotted out the course for them.
Yeah. And Ben, as Johnstone Supply, we are probably the leading distributor in the nation that has a lot of technical information available. We had a meeting last week at our Denver location, a partner, Johnstone out in Denver, and they have a great big classroom. They've got a great big training lab. I know Joe Mardosh goes into that location to do training out of that facility for measureQuick. They've worked with Joe. The idea was, though, we had about 40 of us sitting in a room. And when you start talking about, hey, this is how we're working our measureQuick, you start getting some interest in maybe we ought to be doing it like that over here. So I know some of the stores in the Fresno area, some of the Johnstones out that direction are starting to embrace using measureQuick as well in their programming and training. You can take it a step further. You can take it even towards working with schools. We're going to start working. Brian Feeney and myself have talked about, let's get a list of schools that maybe we can knock on their door, send an email, ask them if they'd be interested in working with us and possibly get some smart tools in the hands of those that they're training, and at least embrace that at the school level, because it's going to help them transition so much easier when they get into the field.
Yeah, because a lot of curriculum still hasn't gone all in on smart tools. They'll probably mention smart tools exist, but it's still not really an essential part of any HVAC school curriculum that I'm aware of.
That's correct. Yep.
So let's dive a little bit deeper into on the distributor journey. Like, what were some of the challenges, some of the hiccups, blockers of you trying to bring measureQuick into the distributor? Because you might have seen the light, but what would it take to convince some of the other people that were the decision makers at Johnstone to support you in what you're doing?
Okay. Great question, because we've gone back and forth with, I think, a lot of the customers. The nice part about my job here is that ownership and management have basically given me the keys to do what needs to be done in the classroom. The idea is that, and they see, after we sat around a round table and we had a discussion with Brian, as well as Conduit Tech, Shelby, and bringing them, embracing them, is the idea that, okay, they get why we want to be doing this. It's bringing that value added to our partner, right? We're building that into the packages, and we're here to support them. I think the tough sell is our customer, the contractor. You have a lot of them out there that are still doing things the old way. They're still using analog gauges. Do we really need to use digital gauges? What purpose do we need them? Why do I need this report card? I don't have callbacks. That's a big one. I get that quite often, and I will usually say, you've never gotten a callback. But the idea of it is that I want you, and this is why we're giving you the first 5 qubits, so I can come out and put the tools on the system if you don't have them, and I want you to see it in use, and I want you to get that report card. I want you to be able to be that contractor that sets himself different. You're different than the other guy. And why are you different than the other guy? You can present your AHRI certificate to the homeowner with your final bill or whatever it is that the salesperson's handing off. But at the same time, you can hand that report card that says, Miss Jones, we've tested your system out after doing the install. And look at that. You've got yourself an A+ rating. Now, the adverse to that is that what if the system comes up with an 85% rating, B+? That's the deficiencies in the system that you need to talk to Miss Jones and Mr. Jones about at the table. And so I think when you start talking to our contractor customers, the salespeople I talk to embrace that, because it allows them to take that information and go to the homeowner and say, listen, we discussed this prior to our install, but we're proving to you this is what needs to be done.
It's a perspective of, ooh, that's a problem, to, oh, opportunity.
Yeah, correct. And I think the idea is the thought process behind the contractor base is as well. The other part of this is how long does it take to do this? I think when you do it from a service standpoint, it's not as long as a process. And when I say long, It doesn't take but maybe 20, 30 minutes by the time you're set up and you get everything going. Start running your system, get your probes connected, and then you start doing some diagnostic. When you do a startup and commissioning, I get told we can't. The back of the book has that handwritten startup sheet, right? I always ask, how many of you actually in that book? Nobody. And from our perspective, for the people that I'm talking to, they're typically not doing that. When they're installing new equipment, they're going to prepare the new equipment for the probes to be going in. So they know what they need to do to get set up. So their install crews are already going to begin that process. And so by the time they're getting wrapped up and cleaned up by the end of the day or the next day, whatever that may be, they're already ready to get those placements, get the workflow started, and we want to get all that data collected. And if there is something that isn't working proper, let's get to the bottom of it before you get that call.
Yeah, it's amazing. That type of process adjustment of trying to, yes, you got to slow down a little bit when you first encounter measureQuick, but once you have it, it's just like
riding the bike.
Are you going to use or like using a screwdriver?
Yeah.
Where yes, you can use a screwdriver. If you've never seen a drill before, it's a little bit strange to use for a little bit. It's riding a bike. It is different, but once you got it, you can go way faster. And there's so many other benefits. Yes, sir. That's awesome. And I do have to wrap it up in 7 minutes here.
Yeah. No.
So I think some of those tips for techs or tips for owners, are those ones that you prepared to talk directly to a tech or an owner about? Did you? Yeah. I love your story. I love the fact that you've just taken this and are running with it. I'm looking forward to hearing continued success stories coming out of Johnstone, PA, and looking forward to our next conversation.
Ben, I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. I want to tell you that between Jim and Joe, those two are brilliant. I thank them for doing what they're doing for the industry and helping us to become better professionals at doing what it is we do. I look forward to, and I'm super excited with our new dealers and our existing dealers working with measureQuick so we can help them make money and show where we can add value to our company.
Awesome, man.